I'm sure everybody will be okay with this prediction. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll be discussing how I believe the 2023 season in the NFL will play out. Let's start off with AFC West. So, in the first division, I have the Chiefs going 13-4. Now, obviously, there's the contract dispute with Chris Jones. There's the injury to Travis Kelce, which will eventually clear up. But at the end of the day, this is a Andy Reid coach team and Patrick Mahomes is the QB. And unless you can prove me otherwise, I'm still going to have them at the top of the division. At number 2, I have the Chargers. Chargers going 11-6. I have y'all barely squeaking into the playoffs, but that's because the AFC is absolutely loaded this year. And you'll be able to see with some of my other records I have going down. Chargers, please do not charge this. This is your prime opportunity to make a run. At number 3, I have the Broncos going 10-7. Of course, you should be able to be better than what you were last year with Sean Payton as your head coach. But like I said, the AFC is just really stacked this year, and I'm really concerned that maybe you might quit on Russell Wilson too quickly. I think he still has some left in the tank, but for y'all to prove me wrong. Now for the Raiders. I like Josh Jacobs. I like Devontae Adams. I like Max Crosby. I really do. I like Daniel Carlson. Now, I'm obviously an Auburn fan, but I'm sorry. Like the more and more I look at your schedule, I don't like your QB position. Like Aiden O'Connell's kind of good, but like, is Jimmy G really going to elevate? I don't know. That's why I have y'all at 2-15. I'm sorry. I really hope that y'all can get up to close to 7 wins, but I don't see it. All right, so the next division we'll talk about is the AFC South. Now, I'm a big fan of the Jags. I don't think you'll hit that 13 wins like some people are saying, but I believe that an 11-6 record is what you should strive for. I believe that, make improvements from last year, build on the success that you had, and then lead the division. Number 2, have the Titans. I'm sorry, I don't believe in your quarterback. And are your aging veterans going to be able to rise up and take your offense to where your defense is? I love your defense. I don't trust your offense. And that's why, unfortunately, I have y'all going 6-11. Number 3, I have the Texans. The Texans are going to go 4-13. We know it's going to be a rebuilding year. We've prepped for this. And unfortunately, you got to look towards next year. I think you can build upon the experience that C.J. Stroud is going to have, the experience that Will Anderson is going to have. But like I said, still 4-13. And number 4, I have the Colts going 3-14. I like Anthony Richardson, but I think we may need to temper down some of the expectation for year one. Some people are saying that the Colts would win the division. I absolutely do not see that. I think that's the wildest statement that I've heard. Um, but like I said, it's a rebuilding year. I don't know what the deal with Jonathan Taylor is going to be, and honestly, it's really a crapshoot right now. And I'm hoping y'all can get out of it. I really do. But right now, still rebuilding mode. 3-14 is what I have y'all at. All right, now for the hardest division I labeled, the AFC East. Very difficult to try to pin down who's going to win the division, who's going to make the playoffs from this division. But this is what I came up with. The first slot by tiebreaker, I had the Bills going 12-5. I think that you might kind of stumble out of the gate, but like until Von Miller comes back. But of course, in Bills fashion, you'll go on a run, you'll get some steam. I'm not as high as I have been in the past on the Bills because I think that Super Bowl window is not completely shut, but it's getting really, really slim. Number 2, I have the Jets also going 12-5, losing the tiebreaker to the Bills. I'm very high on the Jets. look, last year, you had a really good defense, but the offense is what sputtered, and the offense is what led you down. I'm a big fan of Aaron Rodgers. I think that second year for Garrett Wilson is going to be astronomical. I think your running back room, as long as it stays healthy, is absolutely amazing. Um, and I have y'all in pretty much every single game. And I'll talk more about it later, but I'm very high on the Jets. Number 3, I have the Dolphins. I have the Dolphins going 10-7. I think you'll improve, but I'm not as high as a lot of people are. I like your team. I really do. However, you're in a very tough division, and I don't know. It's just something about it. I feel like the Dolphins this year are one of the very very hyped teams that is going to disappoint. And I'm sorry if you're a Dolphins fan. It's just in my gut. That's what I'm feeling. And I may be wrong. But that's what I'm feeling. Number 4, I have the Patriots. Patriots, it's going to be a really rough year for you. You have a great defense. I like Bill O'Brien as offense coordinator, but I still have y'all on going 9-8. And considering how some people are putting y'all at, I think that's just very generous. I don't see y'all going, I don't know, 5-12 like some people are saying, but I feel like 9-8 is pretty respectable in how like absolutely stacked your division is. Okay, finishing up the AFC with AFC North. Now, this is a very tough division, not as tough as AFC East, but I believe that at number 1, the Bengals are going to go 13-4. I'm really high on the Bengals. Uh, I think that you'll continue what you've done the past 2 years, win the division, and honestly, I think the biggest concern I have is your safeties, but I believe in your DC and I believe in your defensive line, and honestly, that's a recipe for success. Number 2, I have the Ravens going 12-5. I'm very high on the Ravens. I don't think you'll best the Bengals for the division, but I'm very high on the Ravens for a deep playoff run. Um, I like Lamar Jackson. I've liked him since college, and honestly, Todd Monken is going to bring out the best of him. I believe, especially in the tight ends. Like, look for Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely to eat this year. And I like your defense too. I think if you don't hit the injury bug, 12-5 is not out of the question. Number 3, I have the Steelers going 10-7. I do think you'll improve off of last year, but it's just a very tough division, and I don't see you rising above 10-7. I think you'll still keep that streak of no losing seasons, but like I said, 10-7 is kind of that same exact range as the Dolphins. I don't think you're there yet. You're almost there. You're going to make strides, but next year, next year is your year. And number 4, I have the Browns. I'm sorry, Browns. I want to believe in you, but until Deshaun Watson shows that he can get back to a semi decent form, I still think 5-12 is basically where you're going to be at. I hope that it gets better for you because you invested a lot in him, but until he shows something, that is where you're at. Is there potential you could have a 10-win season? Sure, but right now, 5-12 is where I have you at. All right, let's move over to the NFC. So, first division up, NFC West, which is the absolute most lopsided division that I have here. I have 2 contenders and I have 2 of the worst teams. Number 1, I have the 49ers going 13-4. I really believe in your defense. Now you locked up Nick Bosa. You don't have to worry about that anymore. I think Steve Wilson is a very good DC, and I think Brock Purdy will either stay the same as he was before and maybe take a step up. I don't think he's going to take a step down. Number 2, I have the Seahawks going 12-5. I don't think it was just a one-hit wonder. I think that I think Geno Smith will take even another step up. I was high on Geno coming out, even though I was only 12 when it came out. I really like Geno, and I felt for a very long time that I was like, I messed up on a QB, but he finally had his breakout year, almost like a Rich Gannon kind of type. Number 3, I have the Rams. I don't know what your team is. I know you sold out for the ring, and I hope it was worth it. But I honestly have y'all at 2-15. When you look at their defense, it's Aaron Donald and like nobody else. It's kind of barren. And the same thing for offense too. I want to believe in you. I like Sean McVay, but I'm not very high on you this year. And then number 4, I'm pretty sure this is everyone's consistent number 1 overall pick. I have the Cardinals going 1-16 with your 1 win going against the Rams. I think the Rams and the Cardinals will be that bad. I don't know like I feel like it's just 2018 all over again. I feel like you got Jonathan Gannon, and it's going to be the same thing with Steve Wilks, where basically you tank for the number 1 overall pick, and then you get an offensive guru to replace him. It just seems like it's just copy and paste. So 1-16, I think, is going to be your record, and I'm sorry, Cardinals fans, it's going to be a rough year. Okay, moving over to the next division. I have the NFC South. Now, I know that everybody trashes on this division. I mean, it's kind of fair. But I still think that we have some possible contenders in the division as well. Number 1, I have the Panthers going 10-7. Now, I know it's my team, so I know I have a little bit of bias, but the reason why I don't have us at 7-10 like we were last year, and I have us at 10-7 this year, is because of that coaching staff. I believe that with a good coaching staff, you can win 3 more games than you should. It's been seen before, and I have that much confidence in our defense and also in Bryce Young. Number 2, I have the Saints just barely missing out on the division, going 9-8. I like your defense, though it should be interesting to see how it is under Joe Woods. And I like Derek Carr, but I don't trust Dennis Allen, and deep down, I don't think you do either. So that's why I have y'all going 9-8. And then number 3, I have the Falcons going 7-10. Falcons fans, I know you're very, very high on Desmond Ridder, but I don't see it. And in order to be an actual playoff team, you need to have at least 2 of these 3 things. You need to have a good head coach, a good QB, and good pass rushers. And unfortunately, you only have 1 of those. You have a good head coach. I don't trust Desmond Ridder, and I definitely don't trust your edge rushers. And that's just my opinion, so I may be wrong, but when's the last time that Bud Dupree was any good? And that's your top edge rusher? I don't trust it. And we haven't seen that much out of Desmond Ridder either. So that's why I have y'all going 7-10. Number 4, I have the Bucks. Now, I don't want to be mean, but y'all are gonna suck. And we've known it as soon as Tom Brady was gonna leave that you were gonna suck. But I have y'all going 2-15. You're not gonna get Caleb Williams, but I do believe you're gonna be running for Drake May. So something to look forward to. All right, moving on to the next division. Here comes NFC East, which is not the hardest division in the NFL, but it's definitely the hardest division in the NFC. I believe number 1, it's got to go to the Eagles. I have y'all going 14-3. I do have y'all cutting it pretty close, but like I said, you reloaded. Yes, your schedule will be a little bit harder, but at the same time, I'm really high on y'all. I think you have a great team, and maybe y'all can make another Super Bowl run. Number two of the Cowboys. Cowboys have y'all going 13-4, just missing out on the division. Um, y'all made some really good strides last year. Y'all added some good pieces too, Stephon Gilmore and Brandon Cooks. Um, I don't think it'll be enough to overtake the Eagles, but I do have y'all close enough that I can see it happening. And then number three, I have the Giants going 11-6. I don't think last year was a fluke. I think Brian Dable is a good head coach, and you can see him as being a good OC as well. Even back when he was at Bama, even back when he was at the Buffalo Bills. So I think he can get the best out of Daniel Jones. And now you have Saquon Barkley. That's just like another element to your offense. So I think 11-6 is a pretty reasonable expectation for y'all. And then number four, I'm sorry, Ron Rivera, but I have your Commanders going 4-13, and I like Ron. Okay, he was the first NFL head coach that like I was ever like cheering for. But I'm sorry, it's a tough division. It really is. I think Sam Howell will be good, but the writing's kind of on the wall. I think they're going to try to push you out. So I have the Commanders going 4-13 and rounding up the NFC East. All right, so finishing up the divisions, we have the NFC North. Now, I don't think it'll surprise anybody who will have winning this division. It's going to be the Lions. So number one, Lions win the division, an 11-6 record. I do think the hype is real, but I think they're going to win 13 games. I think that's a little too high. I think 11-6, very reasonable. Your offense should still be good. I believe your defense has made some additions that it should be in the top 20 range, which is a far cry from what it was last year. And I think that with the NFC North not being as strong as it has been in years past, I feel like 11-6, very reasonable, win this division relatively easily. Number two, I have the Packers going 8-9. I feel like a lot of people are expecting Love to be bad, and I don't see that. I think Love will be, pretty okay, and I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, Aaron Rodgers starting out wasn't the best either. He showed flashes, which I think Jordan Love will too. Um, and I feel like this year, instead of being rebuilding, like a lot of Bears fans are hoping, I feel it'll be more like a reloading period and some bright spots to look forward in the future. Number three at the Vikings going 7-10. Vikings last year, I know you won 13 games, but come on. You and I both know that a lot of those were very fluky. And it feels like one of those teams that is going to regress. And I hate to say it, but 7-10 is where I feel like they're going to be at. Possibly you could go 10-7, sure, but I'm feeling more 7-10. And then rounding out the division is the Bears. Now, I have the Bears going 5-12. I know a lot of Bears fans are going to hate that, but I'm not sold on your team. Your defense is still going to be bad. Justin Fields hasn't really proven that much. He's proven he's going to be a runner, but if you were thinking that he's going to have the third year Josh Allen jump, you definitely need to pump your brakes on that one. Like I said, I could be wrong, but what Josh Allen also had was a pretty good defense to help him out. So I'm just saying that he hasn't shown enough for me to believe that he'll make that jump. Um, so will he show more flashes? Sure. He's a very good runner. I feel like he has arm strength, but does he have the accuracy and can he read the defense well enough? That'll be up for interpretation. So like I said, Bears finishing out the division 5-12. I feel that's pretty reasonable, and that's all the divisions I have for you. All right, so now we move on to the wild card. So as the seeding goes, I have the Bengals winning the first overall seed because they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. I have the Chiefs as the number 2 seed. I have the Bills as the number 3 seed. I have the Jags as the number 4 seed. Jets as number 5. Braves at number 6. And Chargers as number 7. I feel like it's a really, really very, very competitive slate of teams. And this is how I think it will go. In the wild card, go 2 versus 7. So Chargers versus Chiefs. I feel like that's going to be an amazing game. Chiefs has always kind of had the Chargers number since Patrick Mahomes has been there, and I think they'll continue on. I think the Chiefs will win this game. Next, Bills versus the Ravens. Like I said, I'm very high on the Ravens, and I'm sorry, Bills, but I think the Ravens might beat you this one, and cast a little doubt in Sean McDermott. And then lastly, 4 versus 5, Jags versus Jets. You know, Jaguars very feel a good story, but I think the Jets are just better. I think Jets have better defense, be able to shut down Trevor Lawrence, and then I feel like the Jets will be able to beat the Jaguars, with a still very close game. Okay, on to the NFC wild card. So as the seeding goes, I have the Eagles number 1 seed, the 49ers number 2 seed. I don't think that'll change from last year. I think those are the 2 best teams in the NFC, and I don't think it's close. Number 3 seed have the Lions, who won their division, and number 4 seed have the Panthers, who won their division. The number 5th seed, because the Cowboys with that 13-4 record have them being the 5th seed. 6th seed have the Seahawks with that 12-5 record, and the Giants with that 7th seed with that 11-6 record. I feel like there are some contenders in this group. It's not as competitive as the AFC group, but I think there could still be a pretty good contender in this group. So starting off with the NFC wild card, of course, 2 versus 7, 49ers versus Giants. I'm sorry, Giants fan, but that's a tall order to try to take on the 49ers. And I feel like the 49ers just have so much more talent than you do. And I feel like they're going to win pretty handily. Maybe not as bad as the Eagles beat y'all last year in the playoffs, but it's going to be kind of handily. Next is 3 versus 6. So you got the Lions versus the Seahawks. I feel like that's going to be an amazing game. It's going to be very high flying in the 30s kind of game, but I feel like the Lions can pull it out. And then lastly, I have the 4 versus 5, which is the Panthers versus Cowboys. And because this is my video, I decided that we're going to win. Yes, I believe that the 10-7 Panthers could potentially beat the Cowboys 13-4 because I'm a fan and I I got to have my teams back. And also, it's pretty realistic that the Cowboys choke. So, Cowboys fans, you can be mad at me, but it kind of proven in the past you can kind of choke in the playoffs. So, would it happen? Probably not. But in this video and in my predictions, this is how I see it playing out. On to the AFC division. So, after some upsets in the AFC wildcard, we have 1 versus 6, the Bengals versus the Ravens, and we have 2 versus 5, the Chiefs versus the Jets. So let's go over the first one. 1 versus 6. Division opponents, Bengals versus Ravens. It's going to be a hard fought game. However, I feel like because the Ravens had to play in Buffalo, maybe with snowing, and then the next week had to play at Cincinnati, and Cincinnati had a week off, I feel it's going to give Cincinnati the edge. Usually those kind of, are very, very tough games. And I feel like just that little bit of rest is going to give the Bengals the edge. So I have the Bengals winning that game. 2 versus 5 with that Chiefs versus Jets. Very interesting matchup where you have, in the regular season, I had the Jets beat the Chiefs. So in this rematch, I actually have the Jets beating them again. I think that it'll be an interesting storyline to see Patrick Mahomes, one, have to finally play in the wild card, and two, not make it the AFC Championship game, which he's never not been in. I know it's a double negative, but I feel like that's to be an interesting storyline, and also Later on, I'll talk more about it, but I feel like this Jets team could potentially fall in the footsteps of other number 5 seeds. On to the NFC divisional. So of course, all the division winners won their wild card game. So it's gonna be 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. So you got the Eagles versus the Panthers, and then you got the 49ers versus the Lions. Sorry. So as much as I am a Panthers fan, I'm also very realistic. Even though I just said that we would probably beat the Cowboys, but it is also reasonable. Um, I don't think we stand a chance against the Eagles. We're not there yet. We don't have the talent there yet. So I feel like the Eagles will probably dominate us and easily go to the NFC Championship game. Unfortunately, but hey, I mean, it'll be a stepping stone, just like it is for the Lions, because in the other divisional game, I have the 49ers beating the Lions as well. Both of us are very young teams. Both of us move in the right direction, but we're not on the same level as the 49ers or the Eagles yet. Okay, so now we move on to the AFC Conference Playoff. So it's a 1 versus 5. Bengals versus Jets. Joe Burrow versus Aaron Rodgers. I have a feeling that the number 5 seed with the newly acquainted quarterback with a pretty good defense is going to continue just like it did with Tom Brady and just like it did with Matthew Stafford. And the Jets are going to win this game. I don't know why I have this feeling, but I don't. It is. It seems like it's happened before. It's happened every 2 years so far, and this is the second year that could potentially happen. There's a third year it could potentially happen, but in that 2 year sequence. So I don't know. It'll be fun to see. Jets acquire Aaron Rodgers and they go straight to the Super Bowl. Suck for a Packers fan, but it'll be kind of cool to see that kind of storyline play out. Now we're to the NFC Conference title game. 1 versus 2, Eagles versus 49ers, same as last year, but even higher stakes because now both of them are on a level playing field. I don't think they're going to be like some weird injuries or anything like that. I feel like it's going to be a hard fought game. And I actually think the 49ers are going to get their revenge. I think it's going to be a surprise to some because the Eagles are seems like the team to beat, but it just seems like one of those things where it's like not going to be quite a Super Bowl hangover for the Eagles, but I don't think they're going to get back to the Super Bowl. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow, but that's my prediction. Let me paint you a picture. The number 2 49ers have finally exercised their demons and are finally back in the Super Bowl. They beat the Eagles to make it there, and now they have a chance to stake their claim as the best NFL team in 2023. On the other side, you have a very familiar opponent, but only through Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has a chance to rewrite his history by finally beating the 49ers in the playoffs and on the biggest stage. Backing him up is the number 1 overall defense. I feel like the Jets defense is going to be very dominant this year, and because Aaron Rodgers will be able to elevate them to that 12-5 record. I feel like it'll be a very hard fought game, come down to the wire, and just like before in 2020 and in 2021, you've had a number 5 seed make it to the Super Bowl and win with the veteran QB, newly acquired, and one of the top defenses. Copy and paste. Wait. That's not all, fellas. I've also got the draft order because I know I talked about the playoffs and like some of the teams who didn't do so well, that kind of sucks. But guess what? I'll go over what I think your potential draft order could be. So, first overall, like most people think, I got the Cardinals. Okay, maybe you can get Caleb Williams, or if you feel like Kyler's your guy, you can bargain for a whole lot of picks to get for anybody who wants to get Caleb Williams. So your season is not completely a wash. Look for the future. And number 2, I got the Rams. Sorry, Rams. Like I said, I don't think you're going to be that good this year. But at number 2, there's some stuff you could do there. You need a lot though. At number 3, I have the Bucks. Like I said, don't think we're going to get Caleb Williams, but there's potential to get Drake May if the Rams don't get him. Number 4, I've got the Raiders. Now, the Raiders, y'all need a lot of help. Honestly, I don't think that Josh McDaniels should be your head coach. I think he kind of sucks, but you kind of put your hands behind your back. But in this draft order, you were number 4, so you have an option of getting a franchise-altering player. At number 5, I've got the Colts. So the Colts, you had a pretty not that good season, but you've got a top 5 pick to be able to help Anthony Richardson turn around this franchise. In number 6, I've got the Cardinals again because of the Texans pick. Texans, like I said, I don't think you're going to be that good this year, but it's okay because the way that you perform is not going to determine what your pick is. So that's very freeing for you. You don't have to worry about that. Number 7, I have the Commanders. Now, this is the range that I could see Michael Penix going, and I think Sam Howell will be good enough, but who knows if there's a new head coach going to be in the building if it's not going to be Eric Bieniemy. So that's potential. Number 8, the Bears. So you still have a top 10 pick to be able to build around Justin Fields and, continue on that rebuilding level. Number 9, I have the Texans there. So the Texans, you still have a top 10 pick. I mean, it's only like 3 spots down from where you were going to be picking because I don't believe in the Browns. And honestly, that's probably what your GM was thinking too. Is like, yeah, we can get Will Anderson, but I think that the Browns aren't going to be any better than we are. So I think it worked out. Number 10, I have the Titans. Like I said, I don't know what your team is going to be like, but with a top 10 pick, you could possibly elevate your team. Mike Vrabel will still be the head coach, and it could be franchise altering. Goodness gracious. Number 11, the Falcons. Don't have much to say. I don't think you're as good as you think you are. Some of that's a little bit of hate. I'll be honest. Some of it's more so. I think you need to temper expectations. Number 12, the Vikings. I don't remember last time you were this high, probably when you got Darisaw, but I think it'll be good for you. I think it'll be good. There's potential that you can get a QB. It's going to be a very heavy QB class and sit behind Kirk Cousins or start immediately. I don't know what your deal with Kirk Cousins might be, but that's potential. Number 13, at the Packers there. Packers, like I said, it's more like retooling than it is a rebuild. And be able to get another impact player, awesome for you. Number 14, got the Saints. You really have to hit on your first round picks and you're just draft in general because your cap situation is awful. I know you like to say that the cap doesn't matter, but it absolutely does because if you did not hit on Chris Olave, you would have been screwed. So, just saying. Sorry. And then 15, I have the Patriots. Like I said, I feel like 9-8 is a pretty good record for y'all. 15 is in that range where you can still get impact player if it slides down, or you could reach like you usually do on somebody that we didn't think should go that high. Then it turns out to be a pretty good player. So 16, I have the Steelers. Like I said, 10-7, great record. You're the worst out of the 10-7s, unfortunately, but I still think that with the 16th pick, you could elevate your team to maybe an 11-6, even maybe 12-5 next year. So look out. 17, have the Dolphins. Pretty straightforward. Think you're going to be better than you were last year, but you have a pretty tough division. So hopefully you hit in that 17 that elevates your team even more. Broncos have you hit 18. You just missed out on the playoffs. Just missed out because you almost had the Chargers. Chargers got there just in front of you. So Broncos at 18. Then we have the playoff team, so I'll just go down pretty easily. 19 Jaguars, 20 Chargers, 21 Giants, 22 Seahawks, 23 Bills, 24 Cowboys, 25 Bears from the Panthers because that playoff win pushed it way back. 26 Lions, 27 Ravens, 28 Chiefs, 29 Bengals, 30 Eagles, 31 49ers, and 32 Packers from the Jets. That's draft order. And that's pretty much my prediction for the 2023 season. I think this will be an amazing season. And I am pretty sure that my predictions are going to look absolutely awful by the end of the season. But it's just, kind of what I'm feeling. And, let me know in the comments what you think. Probably going to roast me in the comment section about how I have no idea what I'm talking about, which is fine. But yeah, I'm also recording this at like 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning. So if you see a lot of like that kind of stuff, I'm kind of loopy. But let's chalk that up to like my bad prediction takes.